podcast. It has been a while.
It has been a while.
Apparently, it's we're only here because there's a postponement. But obviously, we'll start off anyway, as we usually do. We'll go through the ongoings that we've had in recent weeks that maybe aren't linked to the football field or the ground, shall we say. Anyone got anything that they're training for? Anything that's been going on? Any updates for us?
No, not really.
All right. Glad to hear we're all.
Yes, we are all training for the Rodborough Marathon, which is obviously underway now. Nick and Emma also as well are doing some sort of ultra through fields and hills and stuff.
Peak District?
Yeah, I'm not taking part in that.
And is there a reason why?
Because I'm not an idiot.
Ah.
So, well, not a complete idiot anyway.
Did you say you stopped doing marathons after Manchester?
Yeah, but I got bullied into this one again.
Oh, give up.
Yeah, I'm easily led.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with you on that
True
one.
on that one.
Introduction over. First part of this podcast, we're going to go through how our 2024/end of 2023 has gone so far. I can see you all frantically looking at the results to see what's happened over the last period of time, and I'm going to do the same so that we can ensure that we're as factual as ever.
It's been a while though.
Yeah, so obviously we'll start with Boxing Day. Yorkshire Derby. You don't remember it, do you guys?
No, I do. I remember it being an early kick-off for some reason. We decided to play at the same time as Leeds were playing. I remember that. Don't you, Nick?
I do remember that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to see you all chose the right place.
We certainly did.
Indeed. I think Leeds lost that day as well, so you definitely chose the right venue. So it was Coles at home, Stocksbridge were the visitors. We went behind in the first half, but I think we were largely the better team, I would argue, from what my memory stands up at. But we went through that period of conceding first at home or away. And I think the way that the second half went was kind of testament to how we've been at home this year, where first half we might have been a bit iffy, but the second half pretty much one-way traffic. As soon as that first Burnsy goal went in, which from memory was a bit of a scramble in the box, it kind of looked like one-way traffic from there. Obviously Adam then steps up and scores with 20 minutes to go to put us 2-1 ahead. And we could have easily gone on to win by a couple of more, I would have said, from the way that game went. Obviously, in that particular game, their manager was sent off. I don't know if you can remember, for not agreeing, shall we say, with the decision where Jack Greenough's already on a yellow card, and the referee judges that the foul's gone against the Stocksbridge man opposed to Jack, and he may or may not have lost his rag.
Is this the game you were shouting, he shouldn't stand there?
Indeed.
I remember that.
So obviously, as a member of playing or managing staff, once you are sent off, you must not stand around the perimeter.
Didn't you get told off by our assistant manager as well for your?
I may have been asked to shut up, shall we say, but no.
He can't stand there. He can't stand there.
He stood there.
And I can confirm he was not allowed to be stood there.
He still stood there.
So yeah, their manager, I think in the second half, he decided to stand in the back of the stand, which is slightly more respectful.
Is he allowed to stand there?
Well, I think if he's sent off in the professional game, I can't speak for the rest of non-league, but you are supposed to stay in the changing room. But how that is refereed, shall we say, is a bit more difficult.
Did Alex Slipolotovic save a penalty in first half in this one? He saved a penalty at some point in the season, hasn't he?
Yeah, but I think that was against Dunstan.
Was it?
If I remember right, I feel like that was a while back.
No,
Or was it Brighouse? No, that was...
No, I think Alex Slipolotovic might have saved a penalty that day.
Well, I think he'd like to go by his actual name, Petrovic, if that's possible.
He's not going to listen to me.
Well, I don't think there was a penalty save, but you could be right.
Yeah.
But again, obviously that game, obviously 3 points are always vital at home, but in the Yorkshire Derby, we've been pretty good in them this year. And that leads us on perfectly to the next game in the schedule there, which saw us travel to Ossex United on New Year's Day, or was it the 2nd?
30th. So they moved it from New Year's Day to
So
Saturday.
it was, yeah.
Weren't they garbage?
I mean, we played them at home earlier in the year, and I'd argue they were the worst team we played against. I'd argue they were even worse when we played them at their ground.
Abysmal, I thought.
It's hard to remember a side that looked as disorganised as they did.
Yeah.
But also that didn't seem really bothered at the fact that they were getting beat 4-0 at their own ground.
Which is impressive to say they got beat 4-0 first time and probably want to stop that happening again. But
Yeah.
Thing as well, they probably had there'd been a lot of rain, seems to be a theme going around at the minute. And they had every opportunity to really get that game called off. We wouldn't have kicked up much of a fuss if we'd have found out that morning it were off.
No.
So to find out, and they'd even give that inkling that there were pitch inspection, it's touch and go, it might not be on this, kind of building you that thought that it's going to get called off.
And then
a
confirmed manager in place.
Was he just sacked recently?
There was I think there was a little gap, but I know at that point in time they hadn't confirmed who the manager was. But I'm still not sure if they've actually confirmed who it is. I think their player coach is now kind of in charge and leading it, but I've not seen them at any official announcements. But on that particular day, they looked like a team without much direction. I think they've performed slightly better in recent weeks, but over that Christmas period and the start of the new year, they didn't start too well.
Give us some credit though, we were good as well.
Yeah,
we were good.
You touched on the pitch as well. So it was a sticky pitch. It wasn't ideal for either side. I think in that first half, we'd have probably beat most teams and been ahead by a comfortable margin. Some of the moves we put together, you've got the forward line that included Mikey, Jack Boyle, Adam Hoare. You've got the fullbacks that were getting up the pitch pretty well. Jack Van in the middle of midfield kicked and headed everything in there. And I think as far as overall performances go in that first half, I can't really remember them having much other than the first chance of the game that kind of looked like it was going in and nobody really could tell from the other end of the pitch. But other than that, I can't remember a meaningful attack that they had where you'd argue that they looked worried.
I remember Gaff got a cuddle from Boyle as well, but I missed that because I'd gone for a slash at that time.
I don't know, had you gone for a slash?
Yeah, I'd gone for a slash at that time, having filled my belly on overpriced beer in the
While we're on that topic, let's discuss
overpriced beer.
Overpriced beer. Where do we stand? What's a reasonable price for a beer at a football game?
The Osset game, there were a lot of discussion about it being £5 for a can of Guinness.
Which you'd argue is a touch over the reasonable value.
Yes.
So, obviously, we're quite known for having quite competitively priced beers in our clubhouse. Where do we stand on...
It depends what it is, doesn't it? I'm sat here drinking Hazy Jane.
Is that a plug for Brewdog if they want to sponsor the podcast?
Why are you open both cans of Hazy Jane? Are you rotating?
Empty.
I thought you were rotating.
And they sell that in a bar in Pontefract at £6.50 a pint.
And that is
Which some would say
330ml.
Overpriced.
Yeah, but the price is there. I mean, I think I should bring this up now because I think did you round when we got there £18 and that was for 2 pints and 3 cans of pop or something.
I can't remember.
I remember it's certainly been on the top end. I'm certainly glad that I drove. I could say that for sure.
Indeed.
But on that as well, not related to bar prices, but getting over there, we took a good crowd. So
I think that's our best away performance crowd-wise at season.
Yeah, it's only down road, but it was good. And when we were all singing,
it certainly helps when you 4-0 up. And I'd argue that was one of the worst Osset crowds I've seen for a derby. There was not the usual crowd from the hosts as there usually is when we head up to Osset.
But it wasn't just that, there wasn't the atmosphere. Yeah.
Well, there were a couple of Osset fans in second half, and they came and stood next to where we were. And I thought, I have to come round wanting a barney, wanting an argument. And I got talking to him, and he says, "No," he says, "I've just come round to the lot." He says, "It's a better atmosphere with you guys." He said, I'd rather stand in and watch. I'd rather stand with you and watch my team get thumped than stand with me
It's
own."
understandable.
It's where the first form there was a lot of like getting really high crowds, especially when we played. But now, because unfortunately, you're shite.
It doesn't help, does it?
That you don't get good crowds anymore.
Moving on to the fixtures post Osset, we had a slight lull, shall we say, in the performance / results. We drew at home to Cleethorpes, where we were 2-0 down and looked like we weren't going to get anything from the game. And as has happened a couple of times at home this year, we've been attacking the shed end. It's kind of just been dragging the goals in. Obviously, we get that first one in the 80th minute when Stacey again, another centre half bundling one home from close range.
Still no fucking press up.
Well, he's aware of it now. So
good.
Whether he's going to do it or not is the next.
I don't think he's.
So what do you mean he's aware of it?
Well, Gaff's firmly made him aware that he wants.
I don't think. I'm laying gauntlet down. I don't think Stacey's got it in him.
Well, you don't think Jack Steers can do a press up? That's what you're saying.
I'm saying
single press up.
A good press up though, not one of them lady press ups. A proper press up. I want him right down. I don't think he's got it.
Nose touching floor type press.
Slightly off. Just ever so slightly off. I don't think he's got it. Prove me wrong, Jack.
Fair enough. Well, the challenge is out there, so he's got to score first, though, to do his
certainly has. But another thing that Jack, while we're on Jack, sorry to veer off, I do like the little shaky hand thing that he does at full time.
Yeah, if you do that.
Yeah, doesn't really come across well on a podcast. That really does it. But very much appreciated.
And I'd argue as well that over the last month or so, it's probably been his best month that he's had for us at the club.
Yeah,
he's been pretty solid, whether it's been alongside Burnsy or whenever it was that we played against
Ben
Stockton.
Sherman.
When Jamie Sharman played alongside him, he's been very solid, and obviously he's chipped in with that goal against Cleethorpes and then scored the winner against Liversedge, which we'll come on to in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, I know that with Jamie, we were away at Stockton, we'll come on to that game, but I thought his performance that day stays it. He had a real tough challenge. He was getting dragged about all over, but he were giving as good as what he were getting, and I thought he were fantastic that day. But a lot of them were. We'll come on to that, I'm sure.
Indeed. Obviously, just to finish off with that Cleethorpes game, another 90th minute Bailey Thompson goal. It's becoming a theme of Bailey scoring late on to either claim the points or
claim the goal.
Any good striker should be
claiming other people's goals.
Yeah.
Listen, it won't be the first time it's happened, and it probably ain't going to be the last time either this season.
Yeah.
We'll go on to Newton Aycliffe. Obviously, that one was a particularly disappointing night. Obviously, we've not had many off days, but I think this was one of them. It's been quite well known about our pitch this year that it's been pretty sticky. Obviously, we're going to come on to that as part of the next topic, but it's been quite difficult for us to play the way that we've transformed into playing this year as a side, and I think there's been certain home games where we've struggled.
They came with a plan that night, and they played it to perfection, I think. So
I would also argue that Newton Aycliffe in general, whilst they started the season pretty poorly, a bit like last year, how Grimsby started and they looked like a banker to go back down. They, from around November time, have turned it around just like Newton Aycliffe.
It's easy for you to say.
It is indeed. But no, you look at the results they've had and they've been pretty solid, and that results kind of typified how well they've been.
It is a hotbed of football up there, though, isn't it?
Well, as we travel up north to heaven in the following game, it's almost like we've led on perfectly to discuss said hotbed of football. And I know Nick is quite passionate about his northern football, so I'll let you kind of take the lead.
Yeah, they all say it's a hotbed of football up there, but they're all just completely deluded. And when I say completely deluded, they obviously think their team's the best, but they can't give any other team any credit. They're on at the refs all the time, and I know that that's a good bit of shithousery, but sometimes there'll be a blatant challenge that's a clear red card for one of their players, and they'll be saying that it were a dive by one of our players. It happens a lot, but it's all around the passion that they say that there is up there. There's not passion. They're completely deluded.
If you go up north and you're south of Leeming Bar, you're getting nothing. Honestly, they don't give you anything at all.
We've discussed that this year on a couple of occasions. Obviously, we played Heaven at home, which sparked quite a lot of topic on officials this year, where we had 2 players sent off, and you'd argue neither of them on another day would get sent off, on any other day for that matter. So obviously, we go north to Heaven on the back of a defeat, a side that were, I think at the time, 2nd or 3rd in the league. We go up to Heaven, and the first half, albeit we were pretty poor.
The first half was
pretty poor. I'd say that under our latest era, where we've enjoyed some really good football, other than the Brighouse game where we got absolutely pumped last season, I'd say that is the worst half of football I've seen us play.
We were run ragged, really, and I think it were a mixture of things. I think it were a game where, again, we didn't really get many decisions, but I think we were trying to get a foothold in a game where we were trying to play a mixture of longer football on, another soft pitch, but also still trying to play between the lines, and it just weren't working. We made a sub at half-time with Mikey Dunn coming on.
I would love to know what was said in that dressing room at half-time, because that was a completely different performance second half. I'd love to have been a fly on wall in that dressing room at half-time.
And I mean, as far as substitutions go, if you were to look at performance and the impact of a sub, I think Mikey's typified what you'd want as a manager. He's come on, and I think even within the first few minutes, you could see that he was causing their back four problems. He obviously sets up the first goal with some really good close control. He's dinked it over one man. He's dinked it past another one. He's played it in for Callum, who's finished it well past their keeper, who, again, we're going to come on to in a little bit more detail. He's then... I'm trying to think of the second goal. From memory, I think he sets up the corner.
It's the corner, and their keeper doesn't move an inch off his line.
Well, I think Mikey were involved in winning that.
Yeah, so and then Bailey heads it in at back post.
That corner comes in. The ball doesn't really ever leave.
Didn't it fall over backwards and it into the roof of the net?
The ball never really leaves.
Same thing. It definitely went in there. Definitely went in.
You want your keeper to come and
our two was abusing their keeper for not moving an inch off his line for a cross.
So that made it 2-2.
So that's 2 apiece. Bailey's again scored a goal in a game where we were behind. And
this was his.
And then he's involved in the third goal. Obviously, he's charging down the keeper as the ball's rolled back to him. And the keeper, who in the week prior, away at Winterton, has gone to clear the ball as it's rolled back to his net. He's missed it and it's rolled into his own goal. He's then gone to clear it. And when I say clear it, he's done quite the opposite.
Thing is, his right foot, apart from Winterton, which obviously was in there, his right foot, he was pinging everything, sweet as a nut.
But he's kicked this one straight to Mikey. Mikey's kind of dummied it past him, left him on his backside.
But then Mikey just started running up and down goal line, and I'm there at the back in there. Just put it fucking net!
I think that was the longest wait to see the ball actually cross the line. But in typical Mikey fashion, he's even dummied the defender on the line and then put it past him as well. And just when you think you've come back from 2 goals down to claim arguably a deserved 3 points.
Before you move on to the goal celebration, how angry were Bailey in that as well? He was so angry.
He shouted in all of our faces.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I'm in trouble.
I think when you're 2 goals down, you score your third in 92nd minute, it probably was, and you probably think that's it, game over. There's not 4 minutes added on. There's probably not going to be too much to go. And lo and behold, the North East referee strikes again. A penalty decision for what you'd argue is a soft foul anyway at best, but that's also outside the box. Penalty given. Their captain steps up and scores his hat-trick.
After the injury time should have
after
finished.
96 minutes. It was quite a difficult one to take, but a lot of positives in the fact that obviously the first half was so bad, the second half was so
The thing
much
is,
better.
I've gone back round, so walking around to their clubhouse, and I've gone round spoiling for an argument with somebody. I've gone round looking for an argument with one of their fans, and I'm giving me comments as you know I like to do, and they were agreeing with me.
Yeah. There were not
saying,
many
yeah, you're right.
disagreeing.
No, you're spoiling the hotbed of football. I'm saying that, Gaff. Can we remove
But
that?
to be fair, though, one of their...
And then they said, no, that's Scottish.
Well, it's close enough.
Yeah.
One of their members of staff said the same. He said that it weren't a penalty, it was outside box. It didn't look like a foul, but...
Well, that makes it worse, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because you don't want them to say that. You want them to defend it.
And like, obviously, Nick's made his point. It makes it even worse than the fact that even they don't think it's a penalty. We'll touch on the last 2 games of the schedule.
Whoa.
And we've got about their keeper crying at full time.
Well, we've obviously discussed about him being pretty bad, but yeah, I mean, at full time,
Crying, yeah.
They just come back and got the equaliser. They've kind of saved his bacon. But
and it looked like he ate bacon as well. He's not short on bacon.
Yeah,
He just sat down and
Started crying.
Yeah, it's a first for myself. I don't think I've seen many goalkeepers crying at full time.
Yeah, and I remember I didn't really know what was going on, and then Nick's wife pointed out when we were getting back to car. She went, "No, he was crying."
Yeah,
I'm like, why didn't you tell me that when I was around there? I could have given him, like words of support and encouragement.
Yeah. Well, like we do every week.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously that game, I think it was a bit of a spark after the 2 games prior where we'd maybe not been at its best. That second half sparked us into action, and I think that showed 2 weeks later when we travelled to Liversidge for another West Yorkshire derby. Again, I've touched on it earlier. So far this season, I don't think we've been beaten. I think we've drawn against Brighouse, but pretty much all the others we've won. And we've been pretty good in those games as well. We've not really looked like the second best side. Liversidge, we played them early in their year, both in the County Cup and in the league. And I think it kind of followed the same pattern in terms of how they played. It was a lot of
direct.
Keeper's got the ball in his hands and he's going to kick it aiming for Joe Walton and hoping that something falls off of him. And again, Stacey, man marked him that day. I can't really remember a chance he had, if ever there were one.
No.
I think
Lloyd's made half a save in second half,
Yeah.
which Lloyd would never be concerned about, and that were about it, wasn't it?
And I think really the only downside to our performance was the fact that we didn't score more goals. I think that first half we had 3 clear-cut chances.
We left it late though, didn't we? And it felt to me like one of those games where if we don't get one in net soon, they're just going to nick one against run of play. And I was stood there and I was really worried about that. It wasn't a comfortable watch for me. It made less comfortable when you got told off by that steward, Charlie. Marshall, sorry, not Marshall.
Listen, I'm a man of the facts, and that's all I was relaying onto the pitch. And yeah, a particular steward had been asked to arrive. A set of stewards had actually been asked.
Yeah, when we got that pre-match warning.
Had been asked to attend for this particular fixture after what had happened in the reverse league fixture. Obviously, there were a bit of aggravation, shall we say. But yeah, to be honest with their particular performance, I don't think any one of their staff / fans were too keen to get involved in any discussion.
What was their manager's tactical masterclass again? What was the
I mean, we've heard some good shouts.
Jose Marino.
Yeah, I mean, shouting across the pitch to the far side of play at the perfect time when pretty much all noise in the ground has kind of dropped, shouting on, when you get it, just kick it past him and run. I mean, it kind of typified how they'd been set up that day.
I mean, we were on that straight away, weren't we?
Yeah.
And he must have thought, why have I said that?
There's no talk of, drop into the false 9 position,
the pocket.
spin off and let's play... I don't know, anything would have been better than what he actually said. Yeah. And it kind of typified the performance. And I think the next time he actually tried to follow the instruction of kick it past him and run, I think Connor had already heard this and just thought, you know what, I'm just going to give him a yard.
Yeah.
And he thought, against kicking the ball past him and wrong.
And again, obviously, with the goal as well from Stacey, no press up.
Indeed.
Which needs to be noted.
We'll go on to the last game that we played. Obviously, we were at Stockton. It finished 0-0. It was just a week ago, but it feels like quite a while ago now. Stockton.
Can I just jump back to Liversidge game?
Okay.
You brought your A game with snacks in the car that day.
You were good. No, you were good.
That was fantastic.
Is that on the way home when you went, I want to drive longer?
Yeah,
Close to be. I'm too close to be now.
Close again. Well, sometimes the snack game is very good, and I quite enjoyed the snacks.
No, you did well. You were good.
What do we have? We have mini cream eggs.
Mini cream eggs.
Roulettes, things, are there?
Yeah, Haribo roulettes, and we also had the mini eggs.
The Jateman sweet and a roulette is a stunning combination. If you have the opportunity to have it,
there you go.
Highly
And
recommended.
obviously, we have quite a number of away games throughout the season, and it's become somewhat of a tradition to have a selection of sweets. Obviously, Gareth had his groin warm sweets. I prefer to keep mine in a bag and away from growing areas, but each to their own.
Yeah.
But if anyone wants to comment in the on social media or wherever,
How do you like your sweets?
How do you like your sweets, and what is your go-to match sweet?
There'll be some that'll have them under their armpits. There could be anywhere.
Match day travel sweets.
Yeah, so let us know
away game sweets.
Whether that's just sweets or what's your match day.
It's 100% certain Stuart Hardcastle's going to do something crazy with your sweets on the way trip.
You'll have a pocket full of humbugs.
There'll be something crazy with it.
Under his flat cap
I'd have thought.
something like
There'll be all sorts under that.
There you go. So yeah, obviously let us know about that. We'll go on to that last fixture before we move on to the next topic, which is Stockton Town away. It's a ground that I feel like we're good at. I can't remember us going there and not playing particularly well. I think we've only lost once or twice.
I don't think we've lost in league there, have we?
No,
I think when we've lost, it's been
in the FA Trophy.
I think
but even then we lost. Were it 3-1 in the end?
I know we talked about this when we lost in FA trophies.
We weren't
Who
particularly
cares?
bothered, but at least we put on a performance,
Yeah.
and that was the main thing. And I think arguably, it was a fair result that there were plenty of chances in the game where we could have easily scored a couple of goals that on another day it could have been a different result. But I think the overall performance from a minus the finishing touch, we were pretty good. Their right winger was the top scorer in the league. I don't know if he still is. Going into it, he's caused us problems on occasion, cutting in from the right and banging one in the far corner with his left foot. I can't really remember him, barring one where he hit it into the side netting and one where Elliott's cut out a ball across the box. Can't really remember him getting past Connor Smythe all too much. Connor's obviously got our Man of the Match award. And one thing to add on Connor is that since he's moved kind of back into that left back position, we've not really looked like anyone's going to get past him or anyone's going to put him under too much pressure. And I feel like it's also then got the best out of Spratty being in midfield as well, who's also been pretty good over the last month or so in that position. Probably one of our standouts in that middle of the midfield. So I think those two switching between it has been a pretty good stroke from Rousey on getting the best out of both of them, because I think they've been pretty good in those roles. Obviously, we announced the signing of not Ben Sherman, Jamie Sharman, in the build-up to the Stockton game. Obviously, Burnsy ends up missing that game with a bit of a niggle, and Jamie slotted in pretty remarkably for a first game against top of the league, a side that score a lot of goals, albeit not in recent weeks, with a couple of 0-0s. But it looked like he'd been in that back four for quite a while. Elliott's come back in at right back with, again, Jack missing out through a niggle. And again, that back four, back five, including Lloyd, even six if you want to include Vanny in front of that back four, was solid as it comes. There were a period in the start of the second half where we were under a bit of pressure, but we didn't really look like we were going to concede, even though they were trying to put us under as much pressure as possible. And I think we were we were pretty good that afternoon. And on another day, we take 3 points with the chances we had at the end.
Yeah, you knew it had been a good team performance when we're in car on way home and we're talking about who we think the man of the match was.
It could have been pretty much anyone.
You're coming up with 8, 9 candidates for man of the match, and usually you're talking about 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So that showed to me how good a performance everybody had individually, and then because everybody's had good individual performances, it's made a good team performance, hasn't it?
Indeed.
And if you've got any interest in scuba diving, Stockton is the place.
In getting started, yeah. As we're driving through, it wasn't the way we'd been before.
It's not the way I'd have gone. No, definitely not.
We went a different route to Stockton this time. We kind of went through what I think is their town centre.
Really?
Loosely.
Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Really?
There were a couple of what you would call shop fronts that kind of look like shop backs. And Stockton is the proud home for scuba diving training, loosely, I think. We didn't know it was a hotbed for scuba diving, but apparently it is.
Yep, that's where it's at.
If you want to get involved and start learning how to scuba dive, tie in your next away day and get yourself there. We move on to the next segment of this podcast. Obviously today we're here because there is no game for us to be watching.
Boo.
Indeed, we're at 2 o'clock, so we'd probably just be getting prepped and ready for a home game against Bridlington Town. But unfortunately, as has been the case quite a number of times this year, we've been postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. It's not just the case that it's been at home, but it's obviously happened to us a few times at home as well. I think the only place to start is how of a detrimental impact can postponements have, both on a club perspective, a team perspective on the schedule, but also the momentum as well?
Well, it's like the year when we won Northern Counties East Premier, if you remember. We were playing Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, and fixtures were just piling up left, right, and centre. I mean, I know from a spectating point of view,
it's a pain in the ass.
I was knackered.
Yeah.
But I remember us going.
I know all the minutes you played.
Yeah. I remember going to Botsford, and I'm driving to Botsford thinking, "Oh God, again." So I can only imagine what that was like for lads to go through. Obviously, there's finances coming in through your bar and through your teas, things that the club's not getting, the merchandise section, just the general gates. So there's money that the club's missing out on that they will get at a later date, obviously.
And there's also the cost that you have to pay to an official to come and do the pitch inspection, which is absolutely fantastic. Because you wouldn't think that just to have a game called off, you have to make a payment.
Who would have thought it?
To the match official to have a game called off. But it's I think it's been quite a recurring theme this year more than ever. I think it's probably been building up over the last few years, but I don't remember there being a year where there's been so many games called off across different grounds as well. Because normally you find you get a few of the same grounds that prop up similar weeks where, they'll be off this week.
Worsborough.
Or Sheffield FC.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's been a number of sides that have been affected. Obviously, we've had it. Dunstan's had their problem with their pitch.
That concert game was ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's even a 4G pitch that was obviously an issue.
And obviously, with that, I think if you are to find a solution to the problem, you can't really do much about climate. You can't change the weather, unfortunately. It's starting to look like the only way to get around the potential of this issue is with the introduction of more plastic pitches. Now, I know Gareth just closed his eyes at me because he hates the idea of plastic pitches.
I do.
I think it's the only way forward.
I agree.
Anything further to add?
No, I think watching football on 4G pitches rather than plastic pitches, it's not like the old Luton days, but it just don't feel right to me. But I do understand how, especially clubs at our level, if they're in that position where they can get a 4G pitch, they're going to get a 4G pitch. It's the money that they save on training costs. It's the money that they can gather on airing it out. And let's be honest, do you see teams at our level that have got a 4G pitch and are struggling on the pitch? You don't. They all seem to do well. Even in our league, you've got Concert. You've got Stockton. I can't remember that from 5 minutes ago. But but even go above, you've got our good friends at Worksop who've obviously got a 4G.
Yeah.
If you've got a 4G pitch, it's normally a money winner.
And you also look at the FA Cup sides as well. There's quite a lot of these non-league sides that play on 4G pitch that do well in FA Cup and they come up against.
You could argue, you look at Football League and would Harrogate Town and Sutton United beat Football League if they hadn't have had 4G pitches when they had.
No. But also from a perspective of you get to train on it as many times as you like. You practice on playing on that surface every week. You do get somewhat of an advantage, I would say. But I think from our perspective, I think there's a couple of areas that it's more beneficial.
You won't get as many games called off.
Well, you won't get as many games called off, if at all, really. I know we've had the issue at Concert this year. But most of them, like Stockton, they've only had one call off this year because they had snow on the pitch and it was frozen. Other than that, you're not really going to get many called off. And then you get the perspective of, you get all your academy playing on it, you get all your women's games played on it, you get your juniors on in the morning that'll then hang about afterwards for the first team game. I think if there were to be a 4G pitch at Ponty, I can't see a negative to it. I think if we were to look at the figures, and I know there's quite a lot of, without having the exact figures, I think from what has been discussed, you're probably talking a saving of 60 grand a year from all the teams that are currently having to pay elsewhere to go and train, from the juniors to the women to the men's team that train during the winter with the floodlights. That's 60 grand that would be better off with us. And then you've then got, obviously, potential of other teams using our facilities that will be paying a fee to do so. So I think it is the only way forward. It's just a case of
it's not just the playing side of it, is it? It's offside. It's on the other side when people, they're buying a burger, they're having a beer, they're spending other bits of money when they come down. So that's where it all ties in. The club makes more money.
And you can pretty much guarantee to be open 7 days a week. You've got that guaranteed cash flow coming in. So it's not just a case of on a Saturday you're pretty certain that there's going to be a game if you're a fixture to be at home. You've got also the money gains that are there to be seen. So I know there's been a lot of discussion. I know we are confident that it might happen. I suppose it's just a wait and see as to how soon that could be, if it is to be the case. So we'll have our fingers crossed and hopefully that.
And watch this space.
I get Gaff's sentiment though. What he said there, it's a no-brainer really, but it's just a bit sad when you know where we've come from, and part of our success has been playing on our cabbage patch,
the potty bobble.
But I think that was probably fair.
How good were that day when we played Emily down here in Northern Counties East Division 1?
There's
the classic picture of you doing that weird jump at halfway line. And it's like Jordan Turner's got last minute winner.
Yeah. We had a couple
it's an absolute swamp.
We played Emily on the swamp and beat them. We played Barton. No, it weren't Barton. It was Hall Road Rangers on the swamp as well. And we beat both of them at home in pretty convincing manners as well. But I think the way that we probably played when we first came into the NPL,
it doesn't suit us now.
If anything, it's a deterrent. Obviously, we've played a couple of sides this year where we've struggled to play the way we want to, and we've had to adapt and play a bit more direct. And I think if Rouse is listening, I think he'll probably agree with us on that front.
Rouse will be listening, he loves it.
On the side of things, so I think there's a lot more positive to come from it.
There certainly is.
You maybe aren't the biggest fan of it from a heritage or a fan perspective.
You look at our results. So when we played on 4Gs away this season at Stockton, at Concert, beat Concert. There weren't many people go up there and beat Concert. There weren't many people go and get a point at Stockton and arguably Should blah 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 blah
Yeah.
Should have got all three.
Sounded like you were scuba diving.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah,
You need
air bubbles.
We can talk about the first time.
No, but we were still in that even then, weren't we?
Moving on to the next segment of our podcast, and it's going to be another money-orientated one, and it's one that I'm sure Gareth's delighted to talk about. Merchandise in non-league football. So obviously this year, you may or may not be aware that Gareth has been tied into some merchandise work, shall we say, through the lovely Tracy. She's taken up the role of our head of merchandise this year, and I think it's fair to say that it's been a positive across the board, really. There's been a lot more, everyone knows where to go to when they're wanting different bits and pieces. There's stuff in when people are coming to match days. Obviously, unfortunately, today's game's off because I'm sure Gareth wanted to get rid of a bit of stock from his house.
It's all right. Tracy's gone and picked some more stock up this afternoon from Pixon's.
Oh,
so
lovely.
fantastic.
And it's all at your house?
It's all at my house. Don't let them know address though. I don't want people breaking in for all this
Wow.
premium VX3 gear.
But yeah, so obviously it's certainly something that has been beneficial from our perspective as a club this year. But I think also from a fan perspective, knowing that if you wanted to grab a little bit here and there, if you're wanting some clothing or a different bit of, I don't know, some accessories, shall we say.
Whoever thought you'd live in a world where you could come down to Ponty on a Saturday and buy a Pontefract Colliery gilet?
Times have changed.
You're saying that? Charlie's there with his Pontefract Colliery's travel mug?
Oh, it's rubbed off though, isn't it?
No, I got an unbranded one, unfortunately.
Wow.
I got a sample from work, so I've not got a Ponty.
Did Nam sort you out?
But I am wearing my Ponty
You are?
attire, so I think I deserve some credit on that.
But no, but like you said, on merchandise-wise, when it come in, people want to see it, people want it. And when we go to away grounds, you see it there, and we all comment. And sometimes give Charlie pass a little bit of stick about it when we've not had that merchandise. But it stands out, and
Does
it's what you
anybody know
want.
if Hookham's got his away shirt?
He's got his away shirt, and hopefully
Has it got a
if you're
visible?
listening,
Has it got a visible number on back?
There's no number on the back of his shirt.
That should be a topic.
Anyway, moving on. But no, obviously Tracy's done a really good job with it this year, and I think her plan is to keep getting that to be better and better.
Fabulous.
It's much to Gareth's delight, but no, it's a valuable thing for us, and obviously from a club perspective, it's keeping money coming in from a club perspective, but it's also fans have got stock.
It's getting your colours seen out and about as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
I see people walking around where I live now wearing Ponty tops and stuff like that, which going back season and a half you wouldn't have done.
Yeah.
So it's gold dust for the club because all of a sudden people look and think, oh, what's this about?
It's much improved, and I think there's currently some talk about next year's kits. There's some designs that are getting banded around, so we might be able to release some ideas of
Nick's
what
pulling his face at one of them, which I know what he's pulling his face at.
Well,
What's the late
we'll not give away any information on this. We'll leave it.
But it's actually one I like this year.
Yeah,
potentially.
Gareth's quite happy. So we'll move on from merchandising, and we'll go on to the remaining games of this particular season. Well, in fact, we'll just talk about the next batch of games. Obviously, we've had our postponements, which is going to lead to quite a few rearranged fixtures. But the initial outlook of the rest of February.
It brings up straight away. It brings up an old favourite, though, doesn't it?
What, Carlton away?
Carlton away, and it brings up the subject of holidays during football season.
Why who's missing Tuesday?
Well, it's not me.
It's
I'm
not
not
me.
So who could it be? Where are you going this time, Nick?
Going to Lake District for a week while kids are on half-term holiday.
Ridiculous. So you don't think about how his decisions
Could have
affect.
gone to Nottingham and But instead you thought Lakes. Disgraceful. But no, obviously Carlton coming up. They've been, I think, somewhat of a surprise from last campaign where they were towards the bottom, and I think they survived on the last day.
They were good when we played. I think we played them opening day.
First game of the season.
I think
yeah.
Nick were on holiday.
Yeah, again. So you've missed both Carlton games this year.
Sounds
I
like that, yes.
Yeah, I remember them being a well set up side.
Yeah.
I did think their keeper, though, he had a worldie, didn't he, if you remember?
But he's not been in the last few games.
Well, I hope he don't play
Interesting to see.
Tuesday either. Does that mean Dick Emery might be back down
No,
there?
I don't think so. Obviously, Carlton away next. It's scheduled to be Tuesday, obviously, with the forecast. You never know what's going to happen there. You then look at next Saturday, a home game against Grantham.
What's happened to Grantham?
Well, I mean, Grantham have been in the Northern Premier League. Obviously, last year they got relegated, but prior to that, they were in there for quite a number of seasons. They've had quite a lot of, I think the only way to describe it is a lot of change off the field and on the field. They've lost a number of players and a couple of sets of managers. It looks like they've done another batch of signings over the last month or so.
Is Tubby Custard still up front for him?
No, he's moved on. He's now playing in the Central Counties Leagues. I think, anyway, if that's correct. I'm pretty certain he joined Sleaford Town.
Oh, sounds lovely.
I hope we get to welcome some of their fans like they welcomed us as well.
Oh, I just remembered about that one.
Yeah, it was
that
an
big
interesting atmosphere at Grantham.
Yeah.
He's not going to be allowed out at home, is he?
I don't think it. I think he were a one-off supporter.
Yeah,
it seemed like a
was,
member of their hospitality.
How about this season?
I would like him to come down.
So the
have a conversation with him.
So yeah, obviously Grantham in a week, and then you're looking at another midweek fixture away at North Ferriby, which will be an interesting trip on a Tuesday night.
Lovely
Again,
ground.
depending
Love
on
going
weather. Before ending the month away at Dunstan, which again, depending on how they're
it's going to be a concert, that, by the way, Nick, just to prep you, I think.
Oh, lovely warm concert.
Because their pitch is towing, and I know they've played games at concert when concert haven't been at home.
So it'll be interesting to see how.
So we've not got a rearranged date for the County Cup match.
No, which could possibly drop in at any point. So obviously that'll get announced in due course. But there's no dates.
While we're talking about County Cup, Rousey, if you're listening to this, please win that. I'd love to win County Cup.
Have we ever won the County Cup, Gary?
We've not. I've seen us losing final twice, so I'd love to win that. And it also gives Nick the opportunity, when we win it, to release a new song, which we're not going to tease anybody with.
He can't jinx it either.
But there is a new song available.
I think in previous years we've always said that we'd like to do well in FA Cup, we'd like to do well in League. And County Cup's kind of been a distraction, if anything. But I think if we can go on and do well in this competition, I think there'd be quite a lot of club members, but also spectators that'd be pretty happy at getting a bit of silverware in the door. Obviously, we'd like to finish as high as possible in the league this year, but it'd be quite nice to have a County Cup winners trophy this year, and even a nice little.
I think I might cry if we won that.
that would be great. I know you mentioned about finishing as high as possible in the league, but the thought of promotion genuinely scares me.
I see what you're saying. There's a lot of big sides in the division.
Scares me. I'm obviously going to celebrate if we get promoted, but I think there'll be an immediate feeling of dread for the coming season. But I also felt like that when we got promoted to the division we're in, and we compete.
Oh,
I think you look at a lot of the sides that go up. I think last year was a bit of an anomaly at the fact that Mask and Liversidge struggled. Obviously, Mask survived.
You don't want to be a Mask, do you?
Well,
that's the thing. If you go up, you don't want to fold like they are.
No. And obviously, Liversidge have come back down and have struggled since coming back down. They've not been as good as they were that year when they went right through and won the league. So it's interesting that you never know what's going to happen. But
I'd like to have a go at that when and if we've got a 4G down.
It'd be interesting.
All of a sudden, then it's like, well, come on, then.
I've got a bit.
Let's have a go then. Let's see what you fancy.
Indeed. So the remaining games of the season, we've covered the next batch. Obviously, February. There's potential there'll be some more fixtures thrown in at pretty short notice now with the number of games that are getting postponed. But I think as far as some closing thoughts go, I think the last month has been a bit frustrating in terms of the fact that we've not been able to build that momentum. But I think the last three results, a draw at Hebburn, a win at Liversidge, and a draw at Stockton, if you were to ask me what would you like to take from those games, if you were thinking about it honestly, you'd have took that. 3 points against the side in Liversidge that we'd like to think we'd be the better side in, and the other two are contending for the promotion places as well. So I think the last month's been pretty good. Obviously, we'd like to have a few more points on the board, but I think in terms of moving forward into the next period of this season, I think we're in a pretty good place.
I think once pitches start drying out as well, they get rolled, they get flattened, they're a bit more playable than what we've had for the last couple of months. I think it'll suit us down to the ground.
And we usually seem to finish the season quite well.
Because especially now we try and... This season, I think more than any other, and I know we've took mick out of Charlie for saying this in the past, but we're trying to play more football this year. So when it's been like a swamp on any pitches, we've struggled. I mean, the only away game we've lost up at Ashington pitch were a swamp.
Yeah. I missed that one.
Yeah, you were on holiday.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you were running.
Yeah,
seems
on holiday.
Yeah, it seems to pop up a lot, that common theme.
But even that game, we had a mad 10 minutes. And other than that, we were a better team.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's a fair point.
So
away form,
come
if
spring,
we can make our home form just as good as that, I think we could be in for an interesting.
Come spring, a bit warmer, a bit drier, we'll be fine.
And a little one to end. Obviously, we've asked for you to leave some comments about your journey snacks of choice, whether that's home or away games. Let us know what your match day traditions are. But also for a next episode, if you've got any questions that you want to send in, and if there's any particular guest you would like to hear from, let us know, and we can try and see who we can gather. And we'll go on final note of some predictions for the next 3 games.
I think it'd be a matter of picking which one are we going for all 3?
Well, haven't decided. You tell me.
Is there one out there that we think might be on?
Well,
look for a 4G.
I see what you're saying.
Everybody might be on.
What do we think?
We'll do the next 3 games so that we've got at least one that we can talk about.
Don't I normally just predict 5-0 for everything?
You do. So we'll go first. Lemon, do you want to fire away with Carlton Town away on Tuesday?
See, Carlton quite good actually. She's kind of.
Just say we're going to lose.
Well, I think it'll be 1-1.
1-1 for Lemon.
I'd have thought 5 again, wouldn't you?
5-0.
Yeah.
So, Nick.
I'm going for PP.
So, fair enough. Well, on that note,
Oh, just think you might be able to come to the other one if you go on holiday again.
You might finally get to see Carlton this season. I am going to go for a Carlton 1, Ponte 2.
How dark is it going to be down there, by the way? It's going to be
because
really...
their footballs
From
aren't
Tesco's.
Bloodlight
Exactly.
Tesco's, love it.
Next week, Grantham at home. I think Nick's going to go for a PP.
No, I'm
Right,
not.
it's on, is that one?
No, I'm going for a 4-0 Ponte in that one.
4-0 Ponte. I'll go for 3-1 Ponte.
What? Don't you trust our defence or
Gareth?
something?
No.
I'll go for 5 again then.
5-0. 3-0. And we'll finish with Dunstan. Oh, no, sorry. North Ferriby away. Tuesday the 20th. Gareth?
I can't go 5-0 every time, can I?
You can.
5-0 then.
5. Lemon?
2-1.
2-1 to Ponte.
2-2.
Desmond?
Oh, a Desi on a Tuesday night.
Desi on a Tuesday. I'm going to go for a 2-zip.
2 zip, a clean sheet,
Ponte, yeah, away from home. We're pretty good away from home, so I fancy us to.
You think Burnsy will score on any of them then?
Potential.
I meant to say Stacey, to be fair.
We like his back four scoring.
We
goals,
do.
So it'd be interesting to see. But no, thank you for those that have tuned in, and hopefully it's not as long a wait until the next episode.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much, and we'll speak to you all soon.
Bye.